Okay, so I'm joined here with Ian from Planet Oldhammer. Ian, how you going, mate?
Hello, you're right. All good, thanks.
Thank you once again for coming on and to give us or share us your stories of how you got into the wargaming hobby, and you know how you're sort of active now, and what you do to preoccupy your time in the hobby. So, Ian, how would you like to describe yourself, and how did you get into the hobby, mate?
God, okay. Well, old git is probably how to describe myself these days. But yeah, how did I get into the hobby? I think there's a mixture of things, really. I used to love the fighting fantasy books. I think that's a lot of us got into it back in the 80s that way, right? You know, with the five-finger card, with the placeholder, right? So you don't lose your way and all that kind of stuff. And then around about almost the exact same time, my nan just happened to buy me some Norse Dwarfs. And they weren't from Games Workshop, they were Games Workshop, but they back then they used to just sell them everywhere, didn't they? And we used to have a really cool shop when I was a kid called Barnby's. And you'd go upstairs and there'd be all these glass cabinets, and they'd have all the knights, and they'd have all the Civil War soldiers, and it was all, do you know what I mean? But they're already painted. Remember those ones with like the green, they had a goblin green base as well. Maybe that's where it started. And it was all the kind of that. And then just tucked away to one side was like the lead miniatures. And I remember she bought me some, and I remember being absolutely outraged that they weren't painted. And I was like, what am I going to do with these? And it was just like rubbish. But what it was, in that set was Girl Up the Grim. And I think it was about 1985. And I remember tucking that away and thinking, this is rubbish. I don't know what to do with this. And I left it and didn't do anything with it. And it worked, you know, crap. And then about a year later, they brought out the Warlock of Firetop Mountain board game. And I loved the book. I used to read the book religiously over and over and over again. So the board game, my mum got me the board game, and obviously had minis in it. And that was it. That was like, this is amazing. I love this game. And I loved the minis all of a sudden. It didn't matter they weren't painted. And suddenly, I'm going to get the Umbro out. And it was, my remove the Spitfires from my desk, and suddenly it was unpainting the Dwarfs and stuff. And then suddenly it was like, oh, these are the Dwarfs. So they got liquor paint, started using them in the game. And then, like next year, I got Dungeon Quest, I think it was, which was again the old Games Workshop. So that was it. It was gradually, and then suddenly, like 2 years later, you had 40K came out, and suddenly I'm aware of 40K, and that was it. Then it was like a slow snowball, and then it just turns into, as with all of us, an addiction. This is some sort of self-help guide, isn't it? We're all just talking about how we became addicted. So yeah, and that was it really. So I was into it, and then I was kind of really into all of it. I bought all the epic stuff. I bought as much 40K and fantasy as I could get my hands on back then. What else? I have Space Fleet. I had Man of War. I remember buying. I pretty much had everything. Space Hulk. Had everything for Space Hulk at the time. And then suddenly in 1994, I was how old was I in 94? 19. And my street cred started saying, stop doing this, because there's girls and there's nightclubs and there's that suddenly thing calling. And I kind of shelved it all. And I gave some to my brother, which I regret. I gave him Man of War and all that kind of stuff, and Advanced Hero Quest and all those things. I was like, you can have this kid, because he was 8 years younger than me. So you have them. I'm grown up now. And the rest, I just stored away in a cupboard. Luckily, a really nice, dry, dark cupboard that I just put it all away, and I forgot all about it. And then a couple of years ago, I turned 40, and I don't know, something happens, right? Something makes you go, I've suddenly got time, I've suddenly like that again. And it kind of reminds me of being younger, and, so I started digging it all out and sort of seeing how I could paint stuff now as an adult rather than some crazy kid. And, I watched Duncan on YouTube all of a sudden. It's like, hey, this is good. I'm going to try some of this. And then before you know it, I'm just painting. And I used to stick stuff on Instagram. And then a friend of mine at work said, you do realize you're supposed to hashtag things on Instagram. That's why you've got no followers. Oh, is that how it works? Okay, right. Because I'm old. So it's like, oh, I'm going to hashtag it then. Great. And suddenly, like, loads of people start following you, and they really like what you're doing. So you're thinking, oh, okay, this is cool. And then I tried buying some of the newer stuff because I was getting back into it. And I didn't like it. And not dissing the new stuff at all, because I have a lot of friends that work at the studio. It's Games Workshop studio, because I'm in a kind of related industry, and the studio where I work is very close. to games. In fact, it's a 15-minute walk, so I can mooch there. I can mooch to Warhammer World at lunch, which is great. And so I know a lot of the same people. It's quite incestuous industry, as they nick some of our people and we nick some of theirs sometimes. And so we, it's kind of how it is. So I wouldn't ever diss their work because it's great, but it's not for me. I just find it, the new stuff, too detailed, and I can't get on with it. It just feels like, you can stick a wash on something and it looks great, and there's no challenge to it. Whereas I like the old minis because there was so little detail, or it was so gnarly. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so badly like cast anyway. It's like, okay, it's a bit of a challenge, and you're actually painting the details in, and I like that. I feel, to me, it's a bit more arty. So that's kind of when I started thinking, I think I'm going to stick with the older stuff, and I'm going to just set out to buy and get all the bits that my brother's lost. Thanks, bro. That my mum threw away. Thanks, Mum. Or that I just wanted when I was a kid and didn't have the cash when I was a kid, because you didn't get much in paper rounds. And when I was old enough, had money, I was spending it on other stuff. So it's suddenly become this thing. And then I just kind of decided, I'm going to just dedicate it to Oldhammer, because it suddenly had a name. And so Planet Oldhammer was born. And then the Goblin is based on the Goblin from Dungeon Quest. If you go in the rule book, look at the Goblin in there. It's like, I really loved that Goblin as a kid. So there's a bit of me in that. It's based on the purple they used in the Dungeon Quest rulebook, which I loved, that purple and white. And then it's just based on that Goblin, and then it just set off, really. I started putting it on Twitter because Twitter seemed more immediate and a bit more user-friendly. I don't know if you tried to comment on Instagram, but it's a nightmare. So I just wanted something where I could just have a dialogue and chat to people that are into the same stuff. And I discovered all the Oldhammer kind of groups on Facebook as well, and that was good. And then realized there's a whole thing called Boil that takes place every year, and it's like, I can go to that, and it's just up the road for me as well, which is great. So it's just taken off from there, really. It's just become a thing that I've become fixated with in my middle age.
That's amazing, man. Because you're in the supreme location, aren't you? You're actually based in Nottingham, I take it then, yeah?
Yeah, not far. Well, I'm about 10 miles out, so I'm not right in the mix, but it's near enough. I can be there in 20 minutes. So it's great. It's I'm lucky. I know I'm lucky for that. I'm in the lead belt, which is nice. Yeah,
mate, that's awesome. So are you going to attend the Bring Out Your Lead this year?
I hope so. Yeah, I've got a friend. He's got a table booked. We're having a rematch. I didn't go last year. And, I couldn't make it the year before because we just had a baby, so that was like, can't go, or go. But the year before that, I'd gone, and I just had a really good game of Epic against a friend of mine, where his orcs had just decimated my traitor force. So it's like, okay, we need a rematch. So what I'd done is I'd spent loads of time just painting up a little bit more punch this time. So there's a Reaver Titan joining in now, and there's a whole company of Land Raiders to try and kind of sort things out. So he's got a table book, so hopefully it'll take place in October, and hopefully I can get some pictures up and we can see how that goes. And then I have another kind of rock planned for a friend of mine who's he's into the newer stuff. I forgive him for that, but I'm gonna use my old 40k orcs against his newer Blood Angels, but we're using second edition rules because I'm not having it for the new stuff. So it's like, we're going second edition. I've still got it all, so he's just going to have to take the hit on all this shiny stuff that he's not allowed to use. I might get to use plasma guns, right?
Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Well, you might know one of our members on our Crown of Command, the Discord and on Facebook. He's also running, I think he ran like a big epic game maybe 3 years ago. And they had like a massive, I don't know, it must be an 8x4, 8x6 board, or modular terrain and that kind of thing.
Was it the terrain that's in little blocks and squares? And
yeah.
You change it.
That's the one.
Yeah, I know the guy. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Person.
Okay. So that must have been the game that you guys were playing at that particular Bring Out Your Lead then, because I was really surprised to see second edition being played there. So that's awesome. That's great. Yeah, I'd love to go there and play that with you guys. It'd be awesome. Yeah.
Oh, it was good. It was good fun. I've got to say, I love Bring Out Your Lead. It's such a lovely It's such a lovely atmosphere to get there, and you're suddenly surrounded with everybody that's kind of into the same thing, and you can get bacon sandwiches, and there's drinks available, and then you look around and you're in this kind of nice marquee. There's all the really cool tables inside the marquee, and you look around, and then look, there's John Blanche just sat there, having a pint, and it blows your mind, because these are the people from when you were a kid that you kind of hero worshipped, and they're just there having a fag or having a pint, and it's awesome for that. And obviously, if you go into the Foundry, which I'd say to anybody, if you're going to visit Warhammer World, which is great, but if you really want to see the old stuff, the proper old stuff, then just take a 30-minute drive out towards Newark to the Foundry, if it's open. Because then you see it, which is essentially in the shop. It's all the cabinets in the shop. It outclasses the museum at Warhammer World, because they've got everything. They've got all the old Gene Stealer stuff. They've got the old Gene Stealer limousine. They've got all the old Titans. They've got all that. So yeah, that's really cool. That gets you all excited.
Awesome. Okay. So what kind of things are you into at the moment? Are you actually like actively gaming? Like before COVID happened, that kind of thing? Were you actually gaming with
I was
your
a bit.
friends?
I mean, not hugely. So, like I said, I occasionally have a little scrap with some local friends, and generally it's just second edition 40k if we do that. A little bit of Space Hulk. Epic is completely just for Boyle. I don't know anybody else that does Epic locally. So occasionally, most of the time, I play with myself.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you know what I mean?
We'll leave it there.
Yeah, but it is, right? It's just become become a very kind of, because I've got my kids, I've got girls, and I'd hate to say it, but they're just not interested. I've tried to get really hard to get them interested, but it's just not for them. And even to the point with Hero Quest, I managed to reacquaint myself with that recently. I got a copy on eBay. It's a good, shiny copy, which is great. And my girls just weren't interested because it was all boys. So I said, okay. So I went on Goblin Game and I bought them some, a sorceress and like a female fighter. And then we painted them up, and then I made new cards, the new actual, hero card.
Right.
And
I remember that.
All, you know what I mean?
They were brilliant. Yeah.
And they loved that. And they were okay. They actually started to enjoy it then. So I think there is hope. I just need to keep plugging away. And it's good actually that you see Games Workshop kind of trying to cater for, the ladies, because I think they should, because I think there is an interest, but because it's all kind of male centric, they get turned off by it.
Yeah. Now, do you have those files available for people to download, to print out?
Totally do.
That's good.
I'm always making myself new stuff. Yeah, I've made myself, because I went to the Foundry and I bought all their dwarfs. They've got some really nice adventurer dwarfs, which are kind of very fat dwarfs that look great. And they've all got lanterns and things, and they're perfect for kind of dungeon crawling. So I've made all those into Dungeon Quest characters as well. So I've got the character sheets of those. So if people want them, I'm happy to kind of, I think I have actually stuck them up. They may be on my Twitter feed, because I've had a couple of people request it off Twitter, and I've just sent them the files because I've got them as PSDs. So if people want them, it's easy. They're on my kind of Google account. It's like,
nice, awesome. Okay, that's great. Okay, so yeah, I found you through Twitter because you just create this storm of stuff that hobby related stuff that you're either into, or you're sharing old pictures from White Dwarf magazines or that kind of stuff, or you're resharing other people's work.
Yeah.
But I think maybe people would like to see what stuff you've been painting or doing, or what kind of, how can they access your channels and that kind of thing. So would you like to share some of your images now at all, Ian?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, right. So what?
And we can just talk it through, mate. So people who catch us on the podcast, we can talk through what stuff you're working on, what stuff you've been painting recently.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, this will be in no order.
That's fine. Don't worry, mate. It's all good.
Okay, so let's go. So I share screen now.
Yep, just share screen and it'll pop up.
Share. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Nice. You see that?
Yep. Beautiful.
So if people want to find me, this is kind of where I am. Ignore the fact this is production. This is because I'm on YouTube as well, which is burgeoning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know that?
I don't have a huge amount of time, But whenever I do, I do like to kind of fiddle and play with YouTube and try and put some stuff out. So I do two things on YouTube. I'm doing the little tutorials on just basic stuff. Like I've done one on like drilling out and magnetizing weapons, because you know some people don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many people say, hey, how'd you do that? I've no idea how you do that. And I thought, I've got so many people asking me this. I'm just going to do a video. And then if people keep asking, I'll just go, there's the video, just go and watch it. Because I'll try and do it as simple as possible, like to step by step. You may notice my voice sounds entirely different on that as well. At that point in time, I'm kind of like, I'm disguising who I am. I don't know why I did that. I might completely change it now to me. Yeah. You know, but you go through that stage, don't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on YouTube. I do a thing as well called Waranori, which is I don't know if you got it over there, but in the UK there used to be a TV show called Jackanory, is where you'd have someone just reading a story, like kid's story. And that was it. They'd read the story and they just showed the images from the book. And it's a really popular kids show. And I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to do that, but with the old White Dwarf stuff. Because all the stories, you don't really, those old stories were amazing, weren't they? They just kind of started creating the lore way back, and they really kind of brought stuff to light. So there's a couple of videos on there called Waranori, where it's my really bad acting at times. And I just read the stories, and I add sound effects in, and I just show the images. So people are into that, they can go and look at that.
Nice.
And then obviously I'm on Twitter and I'm on Instagram, and there's a Facebook page as well. And it's all generally, to be honest, if you're following one, you're following all of them, because they all come have the same stuff. Cool. Okay, so what am I up to at the moment? Oh, there you go. So there's my kitchen. So I do like the old Titans. I recently painted these up. Well, it's not recent actually anymore, is it? These past 18 months have just zipped because of everything that's gone on the planet. It's gone weird, right? It feels like it's no time at all, and yet it is. Yeah. So I painted these for Boyle at the time.
Cool.
And ended up not using them. But this is these kind of things. These are available, you know, on these
transfers or banners.
They're not transfers. They're all available on Google. If you just Google Titan banners, up they come.
Right.
And you can just print them out. And all I've done is printed them on paper. And then I used guitar strings to create the kind of underslung kind of wires and things on the Titans. And then it's just paper. In fact, all of these are paper. Even the one on its leg is just cut out and PVA glued on. Because at that point, I didn't know how to make transfers then. I do now. So like, hooray.
That's brilliant. So for the people in the podcast who can't see this visually, then we just saw a really nice Warlord Titan, one of the old plastic kits that Ian's got some Google, who's Googled the transfers or the banners that he's printed off and painted, so that they came painted like that, or you painted over the black and white copies, Ian, is that right?
No, so the banners all come colour. You just print them in colour. And then I just wanted to go for the Fire Wasps. So it was these are all the new banners, I think, for the new Adeptus Titanic, as you see, which are cool and I like them. So it's like, well, I'm going to nick them a bit. I like nicking the new stuff because the logo's changed a bit. Yeah. And adding it to the old. And then that way you kind of keep everybody happy.
Cool.
And then this is a project. This is something I'm doing at the moment. This is the remnants of my Advanced Hero Quest. I had one guy left. That was it. That's all I had from Advanced Hero Quest. And so what I decided to, in fact, that's a lie. I've got the Skaven as well. That's it though. So I decided recently I was going to rebuild the whole thing from scratch, which I did. And it's on Twitter as well. If you go through my thread, I found someone had put all the PDFs up of all the floor tiles. So again, as I printed them all out in colour, and then I stuck them with spray mount onto mount board, and then cut them all out. Managed to cut the end of my thumb off at the same time, which was great fun. It's back now. Don't worry. It was just the fleshy bit, so it's grown back. Yeah. But I've suddenly got that game again. So it was. I thought, well, I'm gonna do up the henchman to become a kind of a bit more advanced henchman. So I kind of replaced the whole hand that is from a Chaos Warrior, the hand, and then I added in this bit at the bottom, is I created the stick bit out of green stuff, and then kind of had the whole thing is holding the yellow leather as unraveling underneath that, and then the cloak, I made that out of green stuff as well, and then I bought some shields off eBay, which were cheap, and they're kind of the right scale, and then that's one of my homemade decals over the top of the shield. So there's been trying loads of new different things out here. It's not finished yet. I need to create like a stone floor tile underneath that green stuff. But I like to kind of, I very rarely just get a miniature and paint it. I like to dick about with them quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just to kind of breathe some life into them, because it's cool minis anyway. But it's,
Yeah.
When you've got only one left, it's kind of like, well, I feel like I can work with this a little bit.
Nice. Okay. Cool. So it's one of the plastic henchmen from the Advanced Hero Quest set, yeah?
That's right, yeah.
It's heavily modified. All right.
Heavily modified, yeah. And then here we are again. So this is my dungeon crawlers that I use. So the two on the ends is the kind of Knight Paladin and the Barbarian. They're new minis. They're from Otherworld Miniatures. So that's a nice thing to discover, is there's actually miniature creators that make stuff that just feels like it's from the late 80s and 90s. And I love them. So I do buy a lot of new old, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
Because I like metal. I just prefer it because of the lack of detail, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you kind of put a lot in yourself.
Yeah.
So again, that's what I use. And then that's that little fat dwarf I was telling you about from the Foundry. I love him. I think he's great. So again, he's my dwarf. And then the guy in the middle is an old one. That is one of the Wizards of Morcar.
It is, yeah, from Hero Quest, yeah.
From Hero Quest, yeah. And again, though, couldn't leave it. Had to stick a pebble from the garden in the end of his staff. And
right, yeah, nice. Yeah, cool.
And again, actually, just to say, the strap as well on the Paladin on the end of his shield, I had to add the strap as well. So I always kind of feel the need to do something a little bit extra.
Yeah, nice, man. That's great.
And then another little project. You've probably seen a lot of these. This is from last year. I decided to finally get around to painting all of the old Marines I had. So these are actually none of these are kind of newly bought. All these I've had for years, like going back 30 years. And a lot of them have just been sat in a cupboard, either painted as Ultramarines, which I'm not really into anymore, and they've all had a bit of a bath, or they've literally just been sat and painted. So I decided I was going to go for the original Dark Angels. At that point, I thought it was a bit of a challenge to paint things that were black. There was a really nice tutorial I watched about doing black armor. And I thought, I'm going to give that a go. And I quite like the old black Dark Angels rather than the green. So that's where I'm going to go. So I'd started painting a force of those. And I'll just go through them. But, you know, they kind of grew this as it kind of went along. And these, again, are all old kind of miniatures. Oops, hang on. I told you, no order to these.
Yeah, I do like the old, it's like the Horus Heresy sort of color schemes of Dark Angel with the black armor.
I do, I love that. Yeah, I mean, that was the color scheme. I think they now have referred to these as the Fallen using this color, right? Using the modern law. But for me, these are Dark Angels.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's kind of cool. And then next one, because they're not in any order whatsoever, this again is a new old mini. So this is not an original 80s Chaos Dwarf. This is from
Reaper Miniatures?
I think it's from either Nightmare Miniatures.
Oh, right.
Or, yeah, I think it's Nightmare. I think it's Nightmare Miniatures. So then, again, they're wonderful. The stuff they produce is fantastic. Some really nice kind of 80s vibe to a lot of their stuff.
Yeah, I had no idea they had Chaos Dwarves. I had no idea they had a range of those.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's
cool.
A really nice range. So what I did is I went out and I bought all the Chaos Dwarfs I could get from Nightmare, and I also went to Ralpatha because they still sell some stuff from there as well. And I just mixed them together, and they kind of go together really well. Oh, and then there's some more actually from. He's going to kill me. What's his name? Old School Miniatures. So
Oh,
old
right.
school miniatures do some stuff as well. And there's a mix of those three manufacturers all together. And I decided I wanted 80s Chaos Dwarfs because I was never into the 90s ones with all the ziggurats and the kind of Assyrian look, you know, with the beards and the tall hats. I always loved the really old Chaos Dwarfs, and they're really hard to find. So it was like just a way of kind of scratching an itch I'd had for 30 years, but without breaking the bank, which was cool. And so I'd started going through. So there you go. So that is the Demon Ass Cannon from old school miniatures. And there was a Demon Ass Cannon once upon a time from Games Workshop, but it's not this one. This one's nicer than the original. And so there we go. And again, I had to add to, so I hate to say this to anybody listening, but I had to kind of increase his ring because it didn't feel kind of, it was enough. And then I've added the chain on as well, just because I felt it needed a chain like to be chained to this board, because he had the manacles on, but there was no chain. So yeah, there's that one. And there we go, back to the Dark Angel. So just an interlude.
Slight interlude there, from the Chaos Dwarves. Nice. Okay, cool, man.
So again, yeah, onto these. These just carry on growing and growing as I started adding to. I don't do Goblin Green anymore. I do. I actually use the Dark Angel Green on these. I think it's Cast.
Right.
It's called, but it's kind of near enough.
Well, actually, since you're doing the sort of the brown and sort of grass bases, the dark green does look better than the Goblin Green. I don't really like the Goblin Green and the grass and earthy tones on the bases. I think, darker looks better. So yeah, look good.
I like to do a mix because it's I think, you know, I love the old miniatures, but to use the old miniatures and then some of the newer techniques and some of the newer mediums, and I think that does them justice. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is just kind of add in some of the stuff that other people have taught me how to do on YouTube. Thank God for YouTube, right? And and kind of just bring them to life a bit more than they were, you know. So there we go. Back to some Chaos Dwarfs.
Oh, these are cool, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this is a mix. These are different manufacturers all sit together, and they just mix really well. And he loads the ass cannon, that one with the fist.
What a great job! Yeah.
The fact is, the fist I kind of love. it's
time for your fisting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again,
nice.
this is again a mix. So again,
that looks like a Kev Adams. They look like Kev Adams Chaos Dwarves. These one from Ralpatha.
I think the two on the one in the middle definitely is Ralpatha, and I think the blue one might be as well. Apologies if it's not. I've bought so many, I forget where they're from.
This one looks like a halfling. This dude, this little black one.
He's absolutely tiny. Yeah. You know,
classic.
For me, it's like, well, you know,
I love it.
Different sizes, don't they?
Yeah, no, I really like that model. It's really good.
I love the kneecap stuff. To me, that's really Oldhammer. Is to have those little faces on things. It really kind of harks back. Okay, and then back to the Dark Angel. So there we go. And this just keeps growing, really.
Yeah. This is kind of like your painting progress, really, isn't it? You sort of go back and you sort of rotate around and between projects.
It totally is. I never work on one thing at one time. I think I've got at least 5, maybe 6 things on the go at any one time.
Yeah.
And I can't, because it's just the way my brain works. I can't just sit on one thing. I like to take it so far, and then I'm a little bit like that dog, you know, from Up that sees a squirrel, and it's like squirrel, and then I'm sitting up. My entire attention is taken to something else, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I was trying to, recently I've tried to be really good and just concentrate on orcs, just because of this orc fight I've got coming up. And it was like, I must try and get as many points as I can.
Yeah.
But even then, I've still got a war bike to paint, and suddenly I saw that kind of new Sons of Horus, that new kind of Horus Heresy box set that's kind of been leaked, because it was all Mark 6. That was like, oh my God, Mark 6, and the colours, kind of the new colours of the Sons of Horus, the old colours were black. And I thought, well, I don't want to do black again because I've got the Dark Angels, they're black. So I was like, I'd like to do some of my Mark 6 as Sons of Horus, and suddenly that started off a whole new project. That's how it works, right?
That's it.
So yeah, let's just flip through these. So this is an old Scout. This is one I've had for years. Used to be a Space Wolf, not anymore.
Carrying a shuriken, yeah.
Carrying a shuriken, yeah. You don't really get that anymore.
No rogue trader.
So I kind of like that. Oh, okay. Here we go.
Oh, some new stuff. Yeah.
New stuff. Yeah. So I do new stuff as well. Told you I do a little bit. And this, I have another Twitter for this. So my Twitter, I try and curate it. The Planet Oldhammer, I try to just, I will only like things that are Oldhammer on that account. I will only share stuff that's Oldhammer on that account.
Yeah,
and I'll
that's
only put stuff up. And it's totally curated that way. In fact, if anything even comes up in my feed that's not related, I'll delete it. I'll say not relevant. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps, you see some people, and they kind of leave Twitter and they say, oh, it's horrible Twitter. It's kind of vile and it's toxic. And I'm sure it is. I've seen some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do is I just keep my feed completely clean. I get rid of anything I don't want to see. I get rid of all politics. I get rid of all the other stuff. And I just see the stuff I want to see. And I find that actually what I'm seeing is a really nice community. It's a really nice kind of thing going on. And so there's a way of doing it, I think, if you're clever with it. And so for the newer stuff, I have a different Twitter, which is Ugly Goblin. So same logo, different title. And this is where I just put up anything new that I've done. And so I kind of like Shadespire. I went out and bought that.
It's a great game, mate. Yeah.
It's a great game, isn't it? Yeah. And I bought a couple of the packs of the different war bands because some of them are really cool. And I love goblins. I think they're fantastic. So this was, it just gives you an opportunity to try out just some different painting techniques as well. So this was me just kind of trying some stuff out. It was my first ever attempt at OSL as well. It's quite poor.
Nice. No, you did well, mate. You did well. It's bloody hard. It's a bloody hard technique. So I think you pulled up really well.
So yeah, there's that one. And then again, yeah, a bit of Shadespire.
Mm.
So again, I'm doing the bases. I do my bases the same every time. I'm a bit of a one-trick pony with bases. Oh, some new guys again. There we go. There we go. Back to Shadespire. And then older stuff again. So yeah. These are quite old. This is from a couple of years ago, actually, when I first got back into it. I'd always wanted to own the Plague Bearers.
Yeah.
I loved all the old Plague Bearers. These are second edition Plague Bearers, rather than the first edition ones that look a little bit like monkeys. Yeah,
no, the first one's Kev sculpted these ones, I think Alan Morrison ones, I think.
Yeah.
Or Trish Morrison, yeah.
I think it was Trish, yeah. So again, this is, before I stick a logo and stuff, and it's okay, this is. And then again,
cool.
It's just an old hero quest. Again, it was watching YouTube videos when I first got back into the hobby, and it's like, okay, I've got no miniatures. I'm going to try one of these tutorials. I'm going to do it on this old hero quest mini. So that's kind of the result back then. And then there's Titans again. And then, yeah, some Imperial Guard. So I've got a mixture of the old Guard. See, I call them old. See, I see those as old, and that's the new one. But it's not actually new anymore, is it? It's the first set of Cadians, which are now, I think they came out about 93. Yep,
about 93.
Yeah, 93. So they're old now. It's amazing where time goes. There's no ghost. Everybody does in that colour. Just me experimenting. Some of my Orc boys.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of the beginnings of nearly 2,000 points of these now.
Nice.
Again, newer stuff. So it's the goblins. I'll whiz through these actually. There you go. More of those. These are the Terminators. So what I did with these is I decided to finally get around to painting the box set of Terminators. Remember the old, you got two squads, didn't you, in the box? And a friend had given me the guy in the lead there, the lead captain. I think that's it's more of a middle hammer thing, but it mixes in quite well with the older ones. And I decided, which I know is probably very naughty, but as I got rid of the, there we go, my brain's gone completely dead. The tab, I got rid of the tabs from these. I drilled them out underneath, and then I pinned them to the newer bases, just because I wanted them on kind of big 32 rather than the 28 mil. So I think they, as a bigger figure, they just sit better on a bigger base. But naughty to get rid of the tab. But that's what you've got to do, you see, when you want these bases, these fancy bases.
That's it.
Again, newer one. I really liked this when it came out, so I jumped on this one. I thought it was quite interesting. And again, I kind of like Nurgle. I think everybody does, right? Because they can experiment and go mad with all the colours and whatnot. So this was me just practicing with shades at the time, so I hadn't done much of that. Again, more goblins, more shades. Okay, yeah. And then back to the Dark Angels. So again, this is just the squad growing. So quite a few of these now. This is a recent one. Here we go. This is quite recent. This goes to show this is the scatterbrain approach I have to my hobby. So this is my old Land Raider. And it has been sitting in my father-in-law's loft for at least 16 years. And I decided, you know, I'm going to go and rescue it. So I went up there, and last time I saw it, it was intact. I don't know what happens in lofts, but I went up there again, guns were gone. And I was mortified because they're hard to find. And so I've got to say, this is what I was talking about Twitter being. It can be a really nice place if you curate it well enough. Is I just put the word out on Twitter and said, hey, can anybody help me? Because I've lost these guns and I'm really after them. And there's a chap, he sent me these and he didn't want anything for them, even though I offered to do swapsies or cash. Wasn't interested. He was just happy to see them go to a really good home. And so, do you know what I mean? I think that's amazing.
That's amazing,
it's a nice place. If you know, it's not all nasty dickheads.
Yeah.
And then it looks like I'm actually putting cream all over it there, but that is
it's like someone's dessert there, mate. Actually, yeah.
It does. But it's actually a product called Paint Blitzer, which again, this is Twitter for you. The guys who create Paint Blitzer, they got in touch with me and they said, hey, do you want a bottle? To try it out, and I was like, yeah, cool. And so this is after I'd already used it. You can actually rebottle it, and I wanted to see if you could use it again. Lo and behold, yes, you can. So I would spend like an hour basting the Land Raider. So you can see it's not very deep. I didn't have much left, but that was enough to completely strip it. So you can see bottom left, completely strip the paint off with hardly any work whatsoever. It was just washing it under the tap afterwards, really, straight off. And then I just sprayed it, re-glued it, and sprayed it. With lead belch, you know, on the bottom. So that's going to be at some point in the future. I will get to that. I just have to make my mind up as to whether it's going to be Dark Angels or Sons of Horus. Can't make my mind up. So we'll get to it at some point. And then here we go. This is quite recent as well. This is just a load of Commandos. This, which is kind of cool. I think this is hit just as the new Kill Team. Is it Kill Team with the Death Guard of Krieg guys?
Yeah, Kill Team. Yeah.
Yeah, with the Commandos. So that looks kind of interesting to me. I think I might get the rules for that, but then just use my old guard and my old Commandos in it, because I can't see myself buying. I'm not really interested in the new minis, but I've been painting these up purely for the aforementioned Rook I've got coming up soon. So I wanted to be able to kind of have a little force that I could. What's the rules in second edition? They can be 4 inches apart instead of 2, and I can put them in further up the table. They can be hidden to start or something.
I think infiltrate. I think. Yeah.
They've got infiltrate. That's right. Yeah. So I think they might be quite handy. So we'll see how we go with those. And then this is kind of the latest thing I've been doing. So this is me. I've learned some new stuff here. I've learned how to do the chipped paint. Right. So I found a really nice tutorial that really explained it well, where you're not using a sponge. I think everybody gets caught up with a sponge, and this is just freehand and it's easier. And I was really pleased with how it came out. And so what I decided to do is I've got 3 of these fellas, these old Terminator captains. One of them's a Dark Angel. And I thought, you know, I'd like to have one as a Sons of Horus. So what I did is, have I put it in here? Well, no, I haven't, because that would have been useful. What I did was I took away all the Imperial insignia on it. So I used green stuff and I smoothed out and got rid of the eagle from his chest. And then I decided, I had some decals anyway, so I decided that in the center plate there, you should have the sort of eye. And so again, I just used a bit of green stuff to create a circle. And then the face is from Blackstone Fortress. It's one of the Black Legion. Is it called Black Legion? It is, isn't it? I forgot what they're called.
Yep.
Used to be Sons of Horus, didn't they? There's a spare head. I didn't use it, so I just snipped away the head of the old captain, and then I just plopped that one in and then green stuffed up the rest. And I've got to see. I mean, if you're looking at this kind of close up, you can see how messy it can be. But when you're holding it, because it's kind of small, it kind of goes away. And then what I've done as well is, as I said, I like to paint all the details in. So it's again all this kind of detailing around the head. That's all just painted in. I got rid of the insignia from his arm, so it's now a chaosy one made out of green stuff. And I've just kind of recreated him. I've got another 14 of these old Terminators in a drawer, so I'm going to make them all Sons of Horus.
Nice.
Which
I think it looks cool, mate. Looks awesome. Like, I love the color scheme. I love that big eye in the center. That was awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's turned out all right, actually. I'm kind of pleased with it. It looks better when it's smaller. This is the trouble with these minis. They never photo well, do they? And then the other thing I've done is, again, after seeing that new box set, the potential of that new box set with Beakies got me excited because they're Sons of Horus. So I decided again, I took one of my old ones and I've done him Sons of Horus. And you'll notice that his badge is different from the one you see nowadays. This is a homemade decal. So what I did is I got into the whole Horus Heresy with Epic. Remember the Space Marine, the first one, and all those stories that come with that. And there's some wicked illustrations in there. And the logo on the arms of all the guys in that book is that logo for the Sons of Horus. So what I did is I recreated the logo in Illustrator, and then I just created some decals. And so all my Sons of Horus are going to have the original Sons of Horus kind of logo on there. Is it logo? It's not logo. I think it's the right word for it at all. But they're all going to have that on their arm. So the Terminator captain does as well.
Cool.
And that's it. I think that's all I've got at the moment.
Mate, that's awesome. Well, you've been bloody busy, mate. I know like your stuff you're putting out, you're always pumping out lots and lots of photos of stuff you're working on. So it's just really nice to see them all collated together into one video. So that you can share that with everybody else in the community. So it might inspire somebody else out there, mate, to do a very similar thing to you, what you're doing there. So
I hope so. Because that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's, I get inspired all the time. I mean, the whole, this Terminator thing, this was really, I was inspired. I forget who did it. Someone on the Oldhammer group on Facebook had taken some old Terminators. And again, they just green stuffed them all up. They'd taken away the logos. They green stuffed them all up. And they just turned them into these amazing chaos Terminators. And that really inspired me. And I actually kept a picture. It's on my phone. I keep it as inspiration. That's what I'll do. If I see something someone's made, I keep it on my phone. And every now and then, when you've been forced to go shopping with the missus and the kids, every now and then, I'll just take a quick look and go, oh yeah, I could do that. And I just think about what I want to do next. And so whenever I get the opportunity, I dive on it. And that's probably why, you never see much finished stuff from me. You might see something and then you'll see it finished like 3 months later, because I'm constantly kind of switching what I'm doing.
Yeah. But you're doing stuff, mate. You're getting stuff done. That's the main thing, isn't it? Like, I think for all of us, we're all the same boat. I think most of us are like that. We're sort of, we're the magpie effect, where we're sort of seeing the new shiny thing, or we've got, several projects on our desks that we're sort of working through, and it sort of goes in this big cycle that I go through the same thing. I just pick up stuff that I'm really into at the moment, and then maybe 2 weeks time, I'm sort of switching on to something else, you know what I mean? So, but you're always actively doing something. You're painting, you're hobbying, you're creating. So that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it's, if you're not doing that in a hobby, then it's not a hobby, is it? You've got to be, you've got to be kind of churning stuff out. I mean, the other side I like to do, again, if you know I have time, is I like to still make my own scenery and stuff as well. I think I always think it's a shame Games Workshop moved away from giving instructions for building scenery, and I get it. I get they've gone, oh, we could make cash. Let's give people scenery they can just glue together and then paint. But part of me wishes they've gone, actually, here's the plasticard you can buy, and here's the cardboard, and we'll supply that. And do you know what I mean? And like, here's the balsa wood. Hey, it's Games Workshop balsa wood, and you can buy all the stuff. And here's the instructions, and go be creative.
Yeah.
There's a lack of that. I think there's a lack of the whole getting really down and dirty and getting creative side that seems to have vanished from the hobby. And I think it's a real shame. Especially, I'll tell you why I think it's a shame. My job. I am an artist. That's my job, right? I make a different type of game, but I'm an artist, and I've been doing it a long time. And the reason I got into it is because of this hobby. It's, you know, as a kid, it gave you a way of kind of being creative and learning new techniques and understand it. You get your kind of foundational skills. You understand 3D, you understand how to visualize something in your head and then build it. And if you can do that, well, that just led to me when I was an adult being able to go, well, I can visualize this and I can make it in 3D. And then off I went and I could do that. And there was a grounding there. And now, as a kind of, you know, I'm a manager kind of now, and I look to recruit, and it's how I know some of the guys from Games Workshop really well, is we end up at the same recruitment fairs and we're after the same people. It's really nice. And then we'll go and have a beer afterwards. And I know they've said the same thing. It's really hard these days to find the people with those skill sets because no one's doing it anymore. No one's getting that grounding anymore because it's gone. And instead, it's all kind of, oh, look, it's all pre-made and all I have to do is do the most basic stuff. And I think it's a shame. I think we've lost something. So I'd love to see Games Workshop try and bring that back because they were so kind of instrumental for me and a lot of other people I know in kind of starting off in a career that was creative.
Here, mate, that's right. So yeah, we just got to do it ourselves, you know, like people like the Terrain Tutor and that kind of thing. I think they're sort of really popularizing that kind of do-it-yourself DIY terrain and that kind of stuff, and making it really, really popular and selling, you know, a really high quality book with lots of guys are doing, not only him, but lots of people are doing it on YouTube and creating their own books that they're selling on Kickstarter or what have you it might be. So yeah, there are people doing it. It's probably just not as prevalent now as it ever was. It's just now it's all pre-made, pre-manufactured in a box. Sell it to you. I've bought stuff that's, you know, like MDF terrain. I think it's really good stuff. It's really high quality, and it's probably something that I couldn't really make. I could try to make it, but this is time and all that kind of stuff and skill.
Do you know, times, that's it. I mean, you know, time's a biggie, especially for us older ones that are all dads. But I think to get your kids into building like terrain, you know, get yourself some expanding foam, just spray it straight onto some cardboard, let it expand, and then cut it into a hill, dry brush it, bang, you've got a hill. It's so much fun to do that with the kids anyway. So I don't know, I'm a big proponent for that. That's why you'll see sometimes I'll go, because I've got a cupboard, my cupboard of love here next to me, which is just full of Games Workshop stuff. And the right hand side of it is just a great big stack of games. Yeah, White Dwarfs. See, losing it. White Dwarfs. And so I'll just go through them, and every now and then I will find those kind of tutorials. And I mean, luckily, a lot of them now on my phone, I've already taken pictures. But it's I just put them up onto Twitter. I'll say, look, it's Friday, you know, go and do creative stuff. Here's the tutorials for making this kind of, you know, the old mine in the side of the hill, or the old country house, or whatever it is. Just go and build it. Go and do that this weekend. Go and have some fun. And I try and push that a bit as well, mainly because of what I've just said. Is I see so little of it, and it's so important. I think, especially for the young ones, they should be doing it more.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoyed coming back into the hobby and making my own terrain. It's really, really a nice experience. It's incredibly time consuming, and it's not all that cheap. When you think about all the materials you need to buy, all the balsa wood and all the, you know, particular like foam card and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you've rewarded yourself with building something. You got something quite unique, even though it's sort of based on some other kind of previous White Dwarf terrain piece or whatever it might be. But at least it's yours, and it looks really, really nice. It looks much better than having something like pre-made in most cases.
Yeah. And don't forget, I mean, you can just use stuff around the house, because
I
don't know about you, but I've been going Amazon crazy over the whole not being able to go out of your house business. You end up with a lot of boxes, and so I with my girls, I mean, they're more into kind of Harry Potter, but we built Hagrid's hut. We found a YouTube video for Hagrid's hut, and we built it with just Amazon boxes, and then again painted it all up, and I taught them how to dry brush, and we did all the same techniques. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't put it on the gaming table.
Yeah.
But it was fun,
I bet, mate. That's wonderful. Oh, that's great. Well, Ian, thank you very much again for coming on and talking to us today. It's been a real pleasure to actually talk to you in person and to connect that way. So it's really good. I'm sure everyone will appreciate to see all your stuff and to hear your stories. So, mate, best of luck with promoting the Oldhammer on Planet Oldhammer on several channels. But I need to check out your YouTube channel. I didn't know you actually had one of those, so I need to go and check it out.
I'll be honest, there's not a lot up there. There's not a lot of videos. I think there's probably 6, maybe 7 videos. There's not a lot. I'm in the process of doing one right now. So that Terminator, that Sons of Horus Terminator, I decided before I began I was going to video myself doing that.
Cool.
So the whole thing from start to finish, I'm going to put up on YouTube. I'm not going to promise when that's going to be finished. Though. Yeah. It's like, you've got to get all the videos together, then you've got to edit it, and then you've got to kind of, narrate over what you're doing so it works. And so it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate.
Just a 6-7 minute video is a lot of work, but I'll get to it eventually, I'm sure. Yeah,
mate. Yeah, do it. I think people really appreciate that. The more Oldhammer content we can get on the tube, the better.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've got to say this. I do not have a lot of subscribers. I think I've got I think it's probably 60 people.
Okay, we're going to start somewhere.
I don't do it for that though, to be honest.
Exactly.
Purely because it's the fun of putting together a video and sticking it up, or just this is what I'm working on. I'm going to stick it out there. It's the same with Twitter. I'm not into it for I want to get hundreds of thousands of followers. It's not about that. It's purely, I'm enjoying this. I like to share what I'm doing. I think we've all lived through some kind of crap times recently, and part of me doing that, I've always thought, if I can put a smile on somebody's face sticking this up, if I can put a smile on somebody's face just putting this tutorial up, or what I'm working on, job done, great. That's cheered me up. That's kind of occupies me enough to kind of go, good, I've done something nice today, and it's nice, isn't it? It's nice to chat with fellow nerds and geeks.
Absolutely, man.
It's great that it's cool now as well. What's that? What happened there? Amazing. If only this had happened earlier, I would have carried on in the hobby.
Well, mate, don't stop. Okay, so just keep going, keep producing, keep working away there, and we'll look forward to seeing what you have in store for us in the future, mate. So definitely a video and some other projects coming along. The Horus Heresy project, so it looks quite cool. But mate, I'll let you go back and help your wife out with the kids in the background.
Yeah. Did you hear them?
I did. So go and help your missus out, mate. So she's got some support there. But thank you very much for taking the time out to come and talk to us, mate. Okay, take care.
Okay, all right. Cheers, man.
Thanks, mate.